everybody, I hope you're doing well. Today, as the title says, I'm going to be doing a tier ranking of sorts, in where I'm going to tell you if your favorite book is actually enemies to lovers. It's probably not. And you might be thinking, what makes you qualified in the topic? And the reality of it is that I am an enemies to lovers connoisseur. I understand it at a far deeper level than most people. Do you get that? I don't think people like it the same way that I do. I like it even more than you. If you don't agree, that sucks, because it's actually a fact. This is an objective truth. And I had to share this knowledge with you guys because some of you are confused. Why do I see TikToks of people being like, oh my god, this is enemies to lovers, and they like each other? How does that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So let's get to it. Let's start, I think, with the definition of enemies. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, enemies means a person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something, one that is antagonistic to another, especially one seeking to injure, overthrow, or confound an opponent. It's also described as something harmful or deadly, and it could also mean a military adversary. With that definition in mind, we have 4 rows for the tier rank. Because even though there are books that are 100% S tier, meaning enemies to lovers, there are other ones that definitely can fall between the cracks. And they're different, but they can have certain elements that makes you think that it's enemies when in reality it's not. So the second one is going to be one-sided, which is when character A hates character B, but B doesn't necessarily, shares that feeling. The third one is rivals. And the fourth one is no. I feel like they're all pretty self-explanatory, so, let's just move on to the first book, which is actually the book series that inspired this video, even though this happened 3 years ago. But so let me set the scene for you. I was on Twitter one day and I saw a thread that said enemies to lovers book recommendation, and I see From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I do actually enjoy her books. Anyways, I start reading it. I'm not gonna spoil, but I'm gonna give you some bits and pieces that are gonna explain the situation, okay? First chapter, the main character, Poppy, meets... I forgot his name. She meets Hawk. Okay, yes, that's his name. And he's all like, oh, I need to protect you because, there's bad people, and the Blood Prince, Castile, he wants to hurt you, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he says. So here I'm thinking ooh, okay, he's the good guy, and then we're gonna meet the bad guy, right? So the Prince of Blood. I was eating it up already. If you haven't read it, I'm gonna spoil it to you right now, but they're the same person. Hog and Castile, they're the same person, okay? And this wouldn't necessarily be a problem if, they actually hated each other. In the first chapter, they meet, then they separate, and then on the 7th chapter, they meet again. They are flirting, she trusts him, they do some kissing, they do a little bit more than that. And after all of that, he's like, oh yeah, I'm actually the Blood Prince. I'm actually supposed to be your enemy. Just because you're supposed to be enemies does not make you actual enemies, okay? Especially if you've been kissing and doing more than that. You know what's funny? She gets mad at him, because this happens in the last part of the book. So she gets mad at him for 5 chapters, but then they kiss and do a little bit more while she's mad at him because they're enemies. The second book starts. She tries to be mad at him for 2 chapters and then stops because she's like, oh, I like you. Which, that's fair. I'm not gonna judge a girl for liking a hot guy. I would never. But have some dignity. And then they are fine. In fact, I'm gonna show you the cover of the second book. I want you to look at it because there is information in here that I felt is gonna give away what happens. This does not need more explanation. So TLDR, no. I promise this is the only book I will explain to this length. The next book is Kingdom of the Wicked. I think it starts very good, okay? It establishes that both of the characters are in like different sides. She's a witch, he's a demon. There's history between both of these that makes them enemies. We get into the first book. Their dynamic definitely changes. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily friendly, but it's also not enemies. However, one party knows way much more than the other, so they give you enough information that you're like, okay, they do like each other and there's something going on.
So what I was trying to say in here is that, since the book is told by Amelia's point of view, we don't really know what Wrath is thinking most of the time, and he knows stuff that I'm not going to say because it would be spoilers, but even in the first book, he does a couple of things that instantly I was just thinking like, okay, they already kind of like each other.
Due to everything I know, I think Kingdom of the Wicked just fits better in the one-sided category, especially because of the fact, that there's one party that knows more things than the other. So yeah, I'm not gonna spoil too much. Let's move on to a little bit of an easier one, which is contemporary romance books. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just like wondering, did we read the same book? I don't think so. Because when I think The Chase by Elle Kennedy, I don't think about the EL trope.
I realized that I didn't even explain what the book is about, so I'm gonna give you a short excerpt. The Chase is the college hockey romance. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on.
So let's ask ourselves, do Summer and Fitz, those are the main characters, do they want to harm each other? Like, in a mean way. Do they want to harm each other, like, physically? Do they want to harm each other emotionally? No, I don't think so. Are they military adversaries? No, I don't think so either. Maybe they are. Maybe I did not get the memo. Maybe it's the fact that they started their relationship / friendship on the wrong foot. Maybe one of them has, like, rejection sensitivity. Which, hey, I'm not judging. Same here. Me too. So let's do a summary. Are they rivals? No, they're not. Is it a one-sided hate? No, they don't hate each other. So it seems like the answer to this book is actually no. It's not enemies to lovers. I'm sorry. Since we're on the topic of Elle Kennedy's books, you see, I'm a Jake Connelly girly. I think it's only fair that we take a look to the risk. So we have Jake and Brenna, and I would say that they don't vibe too much with each other. And this is something that is talked about in The Chase. And the main reason is that he plays hockey for Harvard, and Brenna, who also likes hockey, she goes to Briar U, but her dad is also the coach of the Briar U hockey team. So, there's a little bit of feud going on in there. Not only between them, but like Brenna's dad has a little bit of beef with the coach of the Harvard team as well. It's just like, yeah. But that's besides the point. Anyways. Now, do they hate each other? No, I think hate is a little bit of a strong word. But I think we can all agree that there's a point of contention between the two of them. And it's actually like a big part of the plot, especially this sort of them being on like different sides. This is contemporary, so you probably already know where this is gonna go in the rivals category. But let's go back to the real deal, which is fantasy. I want to talk to you about Falling Kingdoms. There are a lot of characters on this book, but I want to do Cleo and Magnus, because for me, they do feel like the main characters. I'm gonna try to explain this with not that many spoilers, because I feel like this book is not as popular. So I'm assuming that most of you have not read it. I did bullet points for this. They are from different kingdoms. Magnus is from Limeros, and Cleo is from Aranos. Both are the prince and princess to the throne, and the parents are also fighting for the control of the entire kingdom. Everybody's fighting, everybody wants the kingdom, everybody wants the power. You know how it goes. Now Magnus tries to impress his dad, every chance he gets because he has daddy issues. While Cleo has a good relationship with her parents, they're a loving family. It's just good vibes. Cleo actually ends up falling in love with her bodyguard. And this happens in the first book. I don't care about spoiling it because there are 6 in this series, so this is insignificant to the entire story. And everything's going well until, for some reason that I don't really remember, Magnus tries to kidnap Cleo because, again, he was trying to impress his dad. But he fails. Because, he does that a lot, actually. She runs away. Theon finds her somewhere, okay? And it's like, oh my god, you're alive, whatever. Turns out they were getting followed by Magnus and his guards. Magnus comes out and just stabs Theon on the back. He kills him. So yeah, they were already enemies because of the kingdom. But nothing says I hate you more like going back to your kingdom with your tail between your legs because you didn't succeed in taking the princess for ransom, so now your dad thinks that you are kind of like useless. However, in the process you did end up killing the royal bodyguard, so like that's good for you but not very good for her, who has now lost the love of her life, her soulmate, and who she was going to be with forever and ever. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like enemies to me. I'm very sure of it, actually. I'm not gonna keep spoiling it because I do think the series is like worth the read. This is tired. Wait, I just remember there's another contemporary book that I've seen recommended on a lot of threads. Kiss the Sky. This is the 4th book in the Addicted series or the Calloway Sisters series. And just to kind of keep it short, Rose and Connor, which are the main characters of the 4th book, they actually meet when they are in high school, although both of them go to different schools. So they attend this sort of the circuit of academic conferences. I'm not from the States, so I don't know what that means. So this kind of started it all. They had to compete against each other and both of them always wanted to win. Then the college era starts and Rose is at a tour at the University of Pennsylvania. But guess who is doing the tour of the campus? Connor, obviously. So she's like, no, I don't want to go to school with you, even though these colleges are pretty big, I would say. So like there's a big chance that you're not going to see each other. But she's like, no. And decides to go to Princeton, which, that's good as well. But then, because of reasons, they meet again, and Connor is like, we have to go on a date. And she's like, okay. Because they always had a bit of a crush on each other. I'm still going to award them the rivals category because they have lore, and even when they start hanging out, they still do banter a lot with each other. That, I feel like it's just a good category. We're putting them in there. Let's get to Cruel Prince, or the Folk of the Air trilogy. This might be a little bit of a spoiler, but in the first book, the prince is kind of cruel. I wish somebody would have told us from the beginning. Like a little bit of a heads up would have been nice. Now, if you have not read these books, I will sort of explain. Jude is human, but she lives in the fairy world. Now, Jude hates Cardan because he threatens her sister, he tries to drown her, his friends try to kill her, just the typical things. He was not kind to her. Some would say he was even cruel. Cardan hates Jude for a couple of reasons, and his hatred is a little bit more complex. He believes that she doesn't belong because she's human. He's kind of fascinated by her, even though he hates that, which is what makes him like lash out because he doesn't like humans and she's a human. It's just weird. He's weird. And then even though they start kind of hanging out, it's usually because of their own personal gains. So they do dislike each other for a big part of the trilogy. And this gave us some of the best scene, chapters, whatever you want to call it. The knife to the throat kiss, and then the tell me that you hate me kiss. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get on with it, okay? Because this is the ultimate enemies to lovers book. This is not just an S-tier. This is the enemies to lovers book. Nothing else to add. Let's just get into the next one and the last one, Shatter Me. I feel like this book doesn't really need introduction, but even to this day, people call it enemies to lovers, but is it? Is it really enemies to lovers? Let's get into it quickly. Juliet is in an asylum because when she touches people, she can kill them, right? But like Warner gets her out of the asylum because he's like, oh my god, I want to like use you as a weapon or whatever. And he takes her to Sector 45, which is like where he's the commander, even though he's like 19, but whatever, we're gonna like ignore that. There's another character, Adam. He's like, whatever, we don't care about him. And she thinks she's kind of like in love with him, so she like decides to live with him. She decides to escape because she also want to be like a weapon or whatever. And Warren is like, oh my god, no, don't leave, I love you. And she's like, no, you're a psycho, goodbye. Kind of like that. And then she leaves, but then he kind of like starts looking for her, finds her while she's hiding, and he's like, oh my god, I want to kiss you. And he tries to kiss her, and she's like, shoots him. That's actually a pretty good scene. That's like very like close to the knife to the throat kiss that we just talked about. So pretty good. I will give them that. I do like Shatter Me, at least the first 3 books, because I haven't finished the other ones. Most of this though is from like Juliet's point of view, even though like Warner kind of like he's a psychopath. But then we get to his novella and he's like, oh my god, yes, I love her. She's like so pretty, whatever. So it's like, for it to be enemies to lovers, the hatred has to be from both sides, and it's just not. This is a very clear one-sided situation. This is the, oh my god, you hate me, but I've always loved you. And it's good, it's great. I do quite enjoy it, that vibe. That's it with the books. This is a final look to the tier list. There are 3 books that are genuinely enemies to lovers. They have passed the test. Those 3 have my approval. The other ones just fall under other tropes. But that's it for today. Not to be corny, but make sure to give this video a like or subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on TikTok. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!